Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So today I am going to start the class with an introduction to user story. I can't speak today, man. I just took a flu shot. User story point estimation. So as you guys know, when you have user stories, every user story is going to get a point estimation, right? So you're going to be able to get your developers to actually vote on how many points are going to be given to a user story. So user story points are typically, we use a Fibonacci sequence, but typically user stories are 2 points, 3 points, 5 points, or 8 points. So it's like 2, 3, 5, and 8. Anything above 8 is like very rare. If somebody's doing more than 8, it shouldn't be a user story. It needs to be broken down, typically. But anyways, I'm going to share a video that is going to shed light on this. If you guys watched the video already, that's really good. If because the second time around, it'll stick in your head. So let's see, share screen, share screen, and I want to share screen, and I want to share my audio. Advanced computer sound, content configure. I want to do computer sound only. If you're ever sharing screen and you click on share, you're able to actually share your screen. If you go to advanced, you could actually click on computer sound only. So that way, you could share like YouTube or anything like that. All right, so share. And share. So let me know if you are sharing computer sound. Okay, that's cool. I want to share my screen too. I know you guys could see my screen, right? Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go to the video. Click on this video.
What did you say, Zainab?
All right. Oh, it's taking a minute to load. I'm sorry. Connection. Come on. I don't want to take so long. Sorry. Yeah. Click. Click. Okay. Pretty sure you can't hear anything. You can't hear anything, right? Can somebody unmute and let me know? Can you hear anything?
Cannot. No.
Okay, thanks. Share, new share, new share, and share computer sound. Okay, on the bottom of the share window, if you click on screen, and on the bottom there's a little checklist that says share computer sound and optimize for full screen video clip. So you could click on that. So I just clicked on that. And now I should be able to, I'm not gonna make it HD just because I have a really bad connection right now. So I'm just gonna make it 240 because it doesn't really matter. All right, so I'm gonna hit play. Let me know if you guys could hear.
Jonathan Rasmussen. One thing I really like about Agile is how it dispenses.
Yeah, you guys were able to hear that?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Okay. So, cool. So, just everybody pay attention to this video as much as you can.
Hey there, welcome to Agile in a Nutshell. I'm your host, Jonathan Rasmussen. One thing I really like about Agile is how it dispenses with the pleasantries and reminds us what our estimates really are. Really bad guesses. But guesses we must give and plans we must turn them into. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to size requirements the Agile way and give you an invaluable tool for creating your first Agile plan. Now let's face it, our industry hasn't exactly had a stellar reputation when it comes to setting expectations around projects. It's like somewhere along the way, people just forgot what our estimates really are. Really bad guesses, and usually overly optimistic ones at that. Steve McConnell calls this the cone of uncertainty, which basically reminds us that at the beginning of a project, we simply have way too many unknowns to have any degree of accuracy around when we think projects are going to be done. Only after building something, measuring how long that takes, and feeding that back into the plan can we get concrete around things like days. The only question we should be attempting to answer at the beginning of a project is this project even possible given the time and resources we've got? So when it comes to estimation, what we need is a way that allows us to create budgets, plan for the future, reminds us that our estimates are really bad guesses, but also acknowledges the inherent complexities and uncertainty that comes with writing software. Now, there's two things that are going to help us estimate the agile way. One, we're going to keep things simple, and two, we're going to estimate things relatively. Keeping things simple means assigning one number to the bigness of a story. There are no separate estimates for analysis, development, or testing. It's one number, all rolled up into one, that delivers everything necessary to make the story work. Also, a little effort goes a long way in estimating. We aren't going to spend hours trying to get our estimates just right. We're going to do some analysis, give our best guess, and then quickly move on. Staring at the stuff for days isn't going to help. But what really makes agile estimation work is sizing stories relatively. Here's what I mean. Let's do a quick experiment. Say I asked you to estimate the size of these two squares as an exact number. Take a few seconds, think hard, and tell me exactly how big each one of these squares are. Okay? Now I'd like you to do the same thing, only this time tell me how big the purple square is compared to the green square. If you guessed 4 times, congratulations, you're a natural estimator. Now the million-dollar question is which was easier? Estimating absolutely the first way, or estimating relatively the second? If you said the second way, you'd be right. For some reason, we as humans are really good at comparing things relatively. We can do it in a second. It's probably an evolutionary trait harkening back to the days of us having to avoid the jaws of the saber-toothed tigers. Roar! But what we're really good at is doing this sort of thing quickly. We call this relative estimation, and it forms the cornerstone of agile estimation and planning. Because once we know how fast the team can go, and our stories are sized relatively, we can start setting really good expectations around dates. And we'll get into that later in future episodes on planning. All right, there's just one more thing we need to understand about our agile estimates, and that is that they're unitless. You see, when we size things relatively, we're measuring bigness, not time. So one calendar day isn't going to equal one size of bigness. It can't. We can estimate that way, but different people work at different speeds. And sometimes things that we think will take one day may end up taking 2 days or even half a day. So our units of measure don't really matter. They aren't measurements of time. They're measurements of bigness. So we just call them points and assume that 1 point is something pretty easy, something that would take a day, 3 points for something bigger, a couple days, 5 points for a week, and 10 points for a real biggie, something that would take in the order of 2 weeks. All right, enough theory. Let's see this in action. Let's say that we need to estimate how big it would take us to produce a login page. Now let me just set the stage a bit. Let's say that we've already got our project scope, we've got it defined, we understand what we're building and why. We've done an Agile Inception deck, very important. We've done our story gathering workshop, see the previous user story video for how to do that. And now we're ready to estimate our first story from our master story list. How should we go about this? Well, there's nothing magical about estimating our user stories. You basically just sit down with your customer, ask a lot of questions until you're comfortable with coming up with some sort of guess as to how big you think this thing is. In this case, we might review some mock-ups, go through the story with the customer, kind of walk through the functionality, have our customer tell us what success looks like, write the acceptance criteria in the back of the story, task out what needs to be done. And, now I'm assuming that, of course, you're going to be unit testing, refactoring, and doing all that other good stuff as you go through here, so I'm not writing that out explicitly. And then basically you just give an estimate. You take a guess and say, this thing looks like it's about a 3-pointer. This will take me maybe a couple days. So there we go. We have our first user story sized. Now let's do it again, but this time with a slightly more complicated story, with a little bit more of a complicated screen, a little bit more database work, and some more error checking and validation. We can review our mockups, go through with the customer, review the acceptance criteria, task it out, and then estimate it. This one we might say takes 5 points. And then we'll do it again, and maybe this next story is a really small, simple one. All we're doing is listing the permits on the screen. This one we'll just call a 1-pointer. Now eventually what's going to happen is we're going to develop a really nice baseline of small, medium, and large size stories for the project. And once we've got that, it's simply a matter of walking the rest of our stories and slotting them into the appropriate places. Now that's really good, but estimation gets even better when you do it as a team. And planning poker is a fun way to size stories as a group. It basically works like this. A customer reads a story to the team, and the development team asks all sorts of questions to make sure they understand what is really required from the story. The team then estimates, and sometimes estimates may be high and sometimes they're going to be low. And a great conversation is about to happen. Why do you think it's so big? Why do you think it's so small? Well, it's because you forgot this. Oh, did you think of that? Whether it's big or small doesn't really matter. What matters is that the team discusses it and someone learns something valuable about the story. Then they estimate again. And hopefully, after doing this a couple rounds, the team comes to some sort of consensus around how big the story is, and the team estimate is better than if it was done by just one person. All right, there you have it, the basics of Agile estimation. It's not rocket science. What really matters is getting those stories sized relatively, because if you can do that, the rest of the planning takes care of itself. And now that we've got our story sized, ready to take that next big step and create our first ever Agile plan. And hopefully we'll do that next episode. That's all for now. To learn more about Agile estimation, pick up a copy of the Agile Samurai and give you and your team the fighting chance they deserve on their next Agile project. Till next time, bye-bye.
All right, so we're going to end right there. This next video shows us simulation. Simulations aren't really that great. They're okay, but they're not like super great for whoever's doing it. And there's a lot more sizing and things like that. They didn't actually go into the user points, but I'm going to stop sharing for a minute, and I just wanted to open it up to you guys for a few minutes to see if you guys have any questions so far. Did you understand the relative, what they meant by the relative, the idea of like there being that, like the points are relative. So like understanding the bigness between one idea versus another idea. Did everybody kind of understand that? Like thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs in the middle? Okay. Yeah, that's good. All right, so for this next part, I wanted to actually do a cool little exercise. So typically when you're doing Scrum, you're gonna go into your grooming call, and it might be a virtual call, or it might not, or it might be, in a room. If it's in a room, you'll have what's called planning poker cards. So if you just type in planning poker cards, there are these cards you'll have. They look like this, basically, and all the developers are going to get them. And they just have numbers on them in a Fibonacci sequence. So they just have these numbers that are like 1, 2, 3. It's not 1, 2, 3. It's 1. Oops, I'm showing. You get the picture though. They're basically like, if you look at this 1, there's a 2, there's a 3, there's a 5, and then there's an 8. And then they include 13 and 21, but people should never estimate 13 or 21. Otherwise, the story, they could vote that it's 13 or 21, and then the product owner has to break up the story. And then this is kind of like infinite, meaning that like it's too big, and then a question mark. So then what happens is you get your developers all together. They got 1 minute to all come up with a point. They take their card from a deck of hands and they actually put it down, face down. And then you, the Scrum Master, are like, all right, reveal your cards. And everybody, just like poker, shows their cards. And then, you take the average of all their votes of how big the story is. So we're going to do an exercise right now. So you could go to, there's a lot of free versions of this. So planningpoker.com is actually a free one. You could use it for your teams. Startup companies use this because there's a free version of this. So you could create a game. I just called it Planning Poker. Description, let's size some user stories. Team velocity, we'll get to that later, but basically, let's say you're planning for the next sprint, like this is sprint planning, for example, and you know that the sprint can only have 15 points. So you'll put like the velocity, which means like the maximum number of points that can go into the next sprint. This is not necessary, especially in a grooming call. Cool. And then are you also effort pointing? meaning you, the Scrum Master. Usually, you're not a developer, so you're going to say no, I'm just a dealer. And then you're going to choose Fibonacci because this is how we do it in Scrum. And then this other stuff, whatever you want to put in here, it's fine. I decided there's going to be a 1 minute timer. And for the stories, I'm gonna send you guys the link to the stories basically. So I'm gonna click save and start.
Ali, are we supposed to be
And
able to see
bam,
the screen right
cool. So now what I'm gonna do is, hey, have you guys been looking at my screen? Oh my God, you guys weren't looking at my screen. You guys are bad Scrum Masters, man. You guys should have told me that you weren't seeing anything.
I'm looking around to see if
Oh man, my bad. No, it's my bad. But as Scrum Masters, always, if anybody is ever showing a screen and you notice anything that's weird, you're the only person that everybody's relying on. So feel free. You have permission to interrupt anybody at any given time. You're like the MC, the master of ceremonies. All right. So can you guys see my screen now? Everybody, you guys should just unpause yourselves because I can't hear you guys.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So just real quick, these are planning poker cards. They look like poker cards. They all have these numbers, and you deal them out. All the developers have basically a series of these numbers, and then they will vote on their story points. I like to use planningpoker.com just because it's kind of fun and it's easy, and remote people like in India and China and other developers, they could all jump on this. So I'm going to share this link and I want everybody to jump on right now. So chat. If you pop up in the chat, I just put the link to the Planning Poker in the chat. So everybody go and join the chat. Let me know if you're having any issues. If the link is not working for anybody, let me know.
Oh, Booker, you gotta go right now. We're done.
What was that?
Assalamualaikum, Ali.
Okay, this one. So if everybody just goes to the chat and clicks on the link, the poker link there. Cool. It looks like we have Mikhail's on the board and Kelsey. Everybody else, please click that link in the chat. All right, cool. Chris is in. So Bilal and Amina, we're just waiting for you guys.
Oh, I'm on my phone.
Cool.
I don't have access to my tablet or anything.
That's fine. You could do it on your phone. If you just go to chat, the link's in the chat.
Okay, hold on. What are we doing?
All right. We're gonna be sizing user stories. All right. So, Bo, are you almost there? Just gonna wait 30 more seconds and then we're gonna move forward.
Okay.
You're there? Yeah? Sorry, I can't hear you. Yeah, but I don't see you. It doesn't look like you joined the board. We're gonna have to continue though because we only have 6 minutes left of the class. So Planning Poker. So you guys are here now, and we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna click on Add Stories. And when I click on Add Stories, I'm actually gonna put in a link there. So I'm gonna hit Save, and you see story number 1. It's kind of weird, but anyways, if everybody can go ahead and click on story number 1. So go ahead and actually, I'm going to click on Start Game. Okay, cool. So I clicked on Start Game. and you guys have a minute. So what you guys are going to do is click on that Trello board link where it says the story. I'm guessing you guys could see it. And just speak up into the microphone so I could hear. Are you guys able to click on the Trello board link?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So go ahead and just for the first story that's on the Trello board link, click give your story point estimation for what you think, how many story points should go into the first one. 20 seconds left if you haven't voted yet.
I don't get it. What are we estimating for?
So that link on the Trello, that Trello link, if you clicked on it, there's a link of, there's a list of stories. We're voting on the first story.
But Ellie, when you
right.
click on it, it just says a title and then nothing else, and then it just says close. So we don't have any.
When you click on the when you click on the Trello link.
Yeah, when we click on this under story, it says the Trello link. So when I click on it, it takes me to the story details, but it just says the title, and then it asks me if I want to close it. So is there any?
When you click on the story, does it say was anybody else able to go to the Trello link?
No, it's the same thing that Emna said for me. You hit it, it says story details, it gives you title link, but you press on that link and it says nothing, and then it says effort, and you can't do anything on the effort, and then the only thing you can do is press close.
Okay, cool. You know what? Just for this exercise, I'm gonna really, really quickly put something else. Okay, cool. Hey, Bilal, were you able to get into the Planning Poker link yet?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, were you able to click that link to get into the Planning Poker? Okay. So if you go to the chat and then you should be able to click on it. So guys, we're going to do the second, we're going to go ahead and we're going to size the second, so I'm going to skip this story. We're going to go to the second one and go ahead and, what do you guys see?
I see register, sign up. Register, sign up.
Exactly. Yep, and that's all you have to see. So, because I didn't write anything else. So just think about if you're on a healthcare website and you're doing a sign up, you got to enter the first name, last name, email address, all that stuff. How many user story points do you think should be going to a registration sign up? And when you're thinking of effort, just think about all the other things that show up on a healthcare website. Things like doctor search and much more complicated stuff. So in terms of complexity and things like that. All right, cool. So it looks like the average was 3. So it looks like everybody that voted, the average was 3. Did anybody not vote 3?
I switched. I went from 3 to 5. 3 was my first selection.
Cool. No, that's awesome. So as you can see, like probably somebody else voted like maybe 1 or something, and it came up with 3. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to click on back to game, and I'm going to add another story. Typically, when you're adding a story, you might just add the link to the Jira ticket so people can click on that. But just for this exercise today, I'm just trying to give you guys an idea. So I'm putting in another story. So I'll actually type this one out. So as a patient, I want to be able to search for a different doctor by specialty so I can find a specialty type doctor. Sorry, my English is really, really bad. I type it really bad, but you get the gist. Cool. So we're going to the next one. All right. So go ahead and read that. Think about that story for a second and then size it. Cool. So we got Kelsey voted, Chris voted, Amina voted. Hey, Bilal, were you able to get in yet to the Planning Poker link?
I don't know. No, I'm not able to get in. I don't know. It's weird. I went to share. No, I went to chat. I'm there. I see chat. I don't know. Do I just vote? Do I just text something?
I am just sending you. Hold up, 45.
So where does this average come out? Does it say it, or we just assume we're? Oh, I see it. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't scroll up. My apologies.
Bilal, I just sent the planning poker to your mullik45@hotmail.com and mullik45@gmail.com. So if you go there, you should be able to see the email, the link there. All right. So cool. So the time just ended, and it looks like we got a 5. So the average for this story is 5. Now, if you guys pop to the Zoom for a second, everybody go to Zoom. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Cool. So now I'm the Scrum Master. You guys are the developers. So you can't see any of this as a developer. But as you can see, I'm able to so follow me on this side so you can see what's going on. So I click on Add Stories, and over here I can put a link. I can put whatever I want. So over here, I'm just gonna literally just type a story in. So as a patient, I want to be able to click a search results card to navigate to the profile page for the doctor. Obviously, user stories have way more than that. Okay? And on the Jira ticket, you'll have acceptance criteria and everything, but because we're pressed for time, I'm not going to do that. So now if I click on next story, as soon as I click it, actually before I click it, I'm going to click flip cards. So when I click on flip cards, it's not showing. Oh yeah. Can everybody see what everybody voted? If you're looking at my Zoom screen?
Yes.
So yeah, so you can see Mikhail voted 5, Kelsey 3, and then Amina 3. So it averaged it. I don't know how it averaged it to 5. It's really weird. I guess it rounded up. So what you as a Scrum Master would do is you would actually say, okay, Mikhail, and I'll do it right now. So Mikhail, why did you vote 5 for this story?
Because I like 5. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it was impulse. I mean, it was impulse, but I was just kind of thinking about, the different, I just thought sometimes it could be more than 3 steps to find a doctor by specialty, area, location, specialty. Yes. I don't know. Yeah. So that was why.
That's actually an excellent point. Would the rest of you guys agree? Kelsey, Chris, and Amina? Chelsea?
No, I wouldn't give it a 5.
I wouldn't give it a 5 either, only because I think it's not as complex as other searches. I think it's something that would be like a sign, like a registration. And I guess nowadays, I'm just thinking nowadays it wouldn't be such a hard or complex thing. So I'm not sure.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, excellent. And that's good. And I like how you guys are giving your opinions, and everybody would if you guys were all developers, you guys would all be giving your opinions back and forth until finally everybody reaches a consensus. And if you want to think about it, you as a Scrum Master, you could help guide them. So I could say, hey guys, you guys all voted on registration, which is a really, really simple page to be 3-point. Search is way more complicated than doing a simple registration. So comparing the bigness of search and all the things that go into search and specialty and filters compared to just a simple registration, it would definitely have to be higher than the 3. So with that respect, it would be a 5. So you'd help kind of guide them, and then everybody would say, yeah, I agree. And everybody would kind of hopefully reach a consensus. So let's go to the next story. I can see Bilal is part of the group now. So I'm going to go to this story. So go ahead and everybody vote on this. So go back to your planning poker and vote. All right, so we're getting the votes in. Just 2 more left. All right, 1 more. All right, we got everybody. So can you guys all see what everybody else voted or no on your screens?
Yes.
Cool. So as you can see, the average is 5. But it's a close one, right? Kelsey and Bilal said 5. Mikhail, Chris, and Amina said 3. So actually the majority is 3, and you, the Scrum Master, might actually decide, you know what, it looks like we're going to go with 3. But now you're going to go to the outliers. So the people that actually said differently than the majority, the minority, you'll talk to the minority. So let's go over to Kelsey. Kelsey, why did you vote for 5?
I voted for 5 because if you're gonna have to put links to all the doctors' profile pages, I don't know exactly how it works. So it just seemed like that would be much more difficult than just searching for the doctor in the first place.
Gotcha. Okay. And Bilal, why did you say 5?
Yeah, I thought it was it would have to be an extensive search to be done, and I don't know if it would be conducive to doing something very quickly.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's good. So now you're getting a vibe for, like, you said your view. Chris, why did you vote 3?
I'm not a developer, so I'm guessing. But it didn't seem like something super complex or not super easy either.
Cool. And the answer is actually, Chris is actually correct. So obviously you wouldn't know this, but in the developer world, if you have the search results already all there, to click the link in it to go to the profile page is literally just like, it's a really quick, it's really super fast. It's the actual card itself or the profile page itself, the search results page itself that's complex. So that was kind of tricky. But don't worry about that stuff. The main thing is, and I know I'm kind of over time now, so I'm gonna wrap up here. But the main thing that you as a Scrum Master are doing here, even if you have no idea, it's like Chinese to you. The main thing is, if you notice these numbers are different, then you're going to question the people, and you're going to say, hey, you're going to push back and say, hey, why do you say that this is 3? Why do you think this is a 5? Right. Now, I just want to end by, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to pull over at the whiteboard because this is really, really important. I want to make sure that you guys kind of fully understand this. Whiteboard. Okay. So if you guys have 3 different stories, right? You have like 3 stories here, and you're trying to figure out the points, right? So let's say previously the development team for the last 6 months, every single time they had to do any type of search, like you click the button and it runs a search. Every single time they did that, it was like a 3-pointer, right? And every single time the developers had to add like a logo or an image to the website, that was just like a 2-pointer. But every single time the developer had to actually show like profile information on a doctor, meaning like all the information that goes into a profile page, that was an 8-pointer. So now you know the history. These are kind of like your templates. So now in the future, let's say there's a brand new story. And this story, and I'm going to call upon, for this question, I'm going to call upon Mikhail. So Mikhail, think about this one. So imagine there's a brand new story, Mikhail. And for this story, it's never been sized before, but the story has to do with, clicking on a filter on the doctor profile page, and that filter will only show you the location and phone number. So basically, you click that button, and now the screen just shows your location and phone, and maybe a map. Right? We never sized this ever before. Just from understanding what these 3 stories, the points are from here, what point do you think would be, what points would you assign to this? 3, 2, or 8?
I think around 3.
Good. And Chris, what would you say?
3 for search.
And for this specific one where you're going to click on the filter to see just the location, phone, and map, you're going to say that that's going to be a 3?
I guess search, filter, I don't know.
Okay. Amina, what would you say?
I'd say definitely a 3.
Kelsey?
3.
Oh, wow. Okay. Bilal?
I'm going to go with the crowd, 3.
Yeah, so played it safe there. So yeah, that's correct. So I mean, it would be 3 because the idea is that you're clicking on the filter. You're not showing tons of information, and it's not as easy as showing an image. It's just, you know, you're essentially just you're doing kind of like a search, really. You're filtering. So that would be a 3. Does that kind of make sense? I'm gonna stop sharing so I can look at your screens and see all your faces.
Yes.
Give me like a thumbs up, thumbs down, or sideways. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, so I know this was kind of complicated. Please watch that video one more time again tonight. So that way tomorrow we're gonna deep dive into user points again, and we're gonna do another exercise on this because I really want you guys to fully understand this. Once you understand this, you know, we'll be able to get into much more complicated stuff into the Scrum meetings, and then that's it. Literally, you're pretty much kind of taught you guys the majority of all that you need to know. So, all right, guys.
Thank you, Ali.
Thank
No
you.
problem. All right, guys. Catch you guys tomorrow. Please watch the video. Assalamu alaikum. Take care.